Welcome to the Oral History Podcast, which features stories from the oral history website voicesofoklahoma.com, where Oklahomans have given generously of their time to tell their life story for present-day listeners and for the generations to come. Our entire collection is available at voicesofoklahoma.com. By subscribing to our podcast, you will be notified of new Oklahoma oral history podcasts. So now listen to another interesting storyteller from voicesofoklahoma.com.
Bob and Diane Borlase's service to our nation and to our state came in the form of the U.S. Navy, the U.S. Coast Guard, and the Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office. Bob enlisted in the Navy in 1952 during the Korean War. He was chief radioman, using international Morse code as his ship patrolled the coast of Korea. In 1953, Bob and Diane had a one-week honeymoon before he was sent to the island of Kwajalein in the Marshall Islands for a year's worth of isolated duty. Following the Navy, Bob worked while attending a technical school in downtown Detroit. One night, he heard an advertisement on the radio which said if you were an ex-serviceman, the Coast Guard could use you. By this time, Bob and Diane were raising a family, which in 1959 had grown to 3, eventually growing to 5 daughters. So, in 1959, Bob joined the U.S. Coast Guard with duties as a radio man on an ocean station near Honolulu. And then, during the Vietnam War, the U.S. Coast Guard played a vital role where Bob served as a chief radio man. The ship assignment limited coastal infiltration by the Viet Cong into South Vietnam. Bob and Diane will tell you about their service in the U.S. Coast Guard, their move to Oklahoma City, and Bob's work in the Sheriff's Office. They would like to be remembered as an average American couple who served their country and their community. So now, listen to this oral history interview with Bob and Diane Borlase on voicesofoklahoma.com.
My name is John Erling, and today's date is November 14, 2017. Bob, would you state your full name, please?
Robert Arthur Borlase.
Your date of birth?
3/31/32, March 31st, 1932.
And where are we recording this interview?
At my home in Bethany, Oklahoma.
Joining us today is your wife, Diane, to keep us on the straight and narrow. Diane, you think you can do that?
Sure, no problem.
When did you two meet?
In 1949 in Detroit, Michigan, at a friend's house.
Okay, we will talk about that. Bob, your father's name?
Edward Borlase. He had no middle name.
Where did he grow up?
In England, Cornwall, England.
Cornwall, England. Uh-huh. How did he come to the United States?
By boat. Came over in about 1920, I think.
Did he come through Ellis Island?
Yes, he did.
Where did he settle then after he came through Ellis Island?
They went to New Jersey. He and his brother came over, and they had an epidemic in New Jersey, and his brother died. And he came to northern Michigan, the Upper Peninsula, to work in the mines up there.
So it was work in the mines that brought him to Michigan?
In the copper mines up there. He had worked in the mines in Red Roof, Cornwall, the tin mines.
So he followed his profession from England. What was his personality like?
He was a very stern person. He took command. He was not a huggable type of fella to be a father. We had 5 boys in the family and 2 girls, and I worked for my father for a period of time, but he was always my boss. But he was there whenever you needed anything. He was the most dependable person you ever want to know.
How many brothers and sisters did you have?
I had 4 brothers and 2 sisters. I had an older brother and 2 younger brothers, and an older sister and a younger sister than me.
So you're in the middle?
Yes.
Your mother's name?
Mary Louise, and her maiden name was Moquin.
What was her background? Where did she come from?
She came from Bay City, Michigan.
So the two met in Michigan?
Yep.
Yes.
Obviously. And what was your mother like, her personality?
She was a huggable. My mother was a very nice person, took good care of us kids, was always there if you ever needed her.
Your father had to earn quite an income because he had 7 children.
Yes. Father hauled ice and coal during the Second World War. I remember him. He worked for Pittman and Dean for a while, and he delivered coal right to your residence. He would deliver it by wheelbarrow to some addresses, and he also had a conveyor to put it down on other ones where he could use it. And he'd bring ice right into the house and put it in the refrigerators. And he did it at our own home there for a period of time.
Everybody enjoyed hearing the Icemen coming in the summertime, didn't they?
And the end of the Second World War put him out of business because they started building refrigerators and supplying it to homes.
What did he do then?
He worked for an automotive repair and gasoline station, and he worked for a man called Art Conley. He worked for him for a long time and then bought his own gas station and ran it.
Did you work for him in that gas station?
I worked with my dad at the station with the Conleys. We worked together, and my older brother also worked with my dad at the gas station, and then Dad bought a gas station of his own. Then I was in the military, and when I got out of the military, I worked for him for a period of time.
What about your grandparents? Do you have any memory of them?
On my dad's side, no. But on my mother's side, yes. I remember my grandfather and my grandmother. The family used to go over to their house for Christmas and for stuff like that. They had a cottage at Stony Point in Michigan. In the summer, we would go there, and sometimes the whole family would stay there by ourselves. We would have a reunion or a get-together every year with the whole family at this cottage.
So it's obvious, and you only knew your maternal grandmother because she grew up in the United States.
That's true.
And she probably grew up in Michigan.
No, I don't believe so.
They grew up in Canada. They were French-Canadian.
French-Canadian.
Okay. Did they speak English? Only speak French? Or?
It was kind of a little bit of both.
Do you remember hearing both?
Oh, yes, but I wasn't around them very often. We'd see them a little bit in the summer, and we always saw them around Christmas time. My grandmother was a very huggable person. She would grasp you and give you a big hug. But there was a lot of grandchildren, and the family was large, her family itself.
So do you have pleasant memories then of Christmas and large gatherings at Christmas and Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I did. It was one of those times when there was a lot of people around, and I'm not much on being around a lot of people. I've been there all my life doing that, but I'm not always comfortable in that.
You were even that way when you were a young person?
That's correct.
Would you describe yourself as a shy youth?
I would, yes. I would very much, yes.
Was that a handicap for you, being shy?
I felt at times it was. I'm not too open right today. I don't feel comfortable talking to strangers. Frankly, I'm not comfortable right now.
Well, we admire your honesty. Did you have any health issues as a child?
I was always a small person and lightweight. Not always, but at that time I was. Later on in life, I put some weight on. I'm trimmed down some now.
What was the first school that you attended?
I think it was Hosmer. I went to the first school.
Where was it?
That was in Detroit. But we moved from there. I went to another school. I went to Keating School for a while. When they put me in the Keating School, I was very light in weight and malnourished, I believe, and they put me in an open-air class. They actually had a room that was set up for people that were light of weight or had health problems, maybe. It was set up with these deck chairs that folded back. The desktops would fold over the front of your lap so you could do your work. But you took a nap in the morning, and you took a nap in the afternoon, and they fed you milk and graham crackers, stuff like that. And I stayed in that until my folks moved from that house over to a new neighborhood, and I had to go to a different school.
Was that in a school that you were?
Yes, it was a school.
Why were you malnourished?
I just was a small person.
Okay,
and
but you were fed.
Yes, I was a very small person, very thin, and for my size, light of weight. They just put me in that school. I don't know what the deal was. I really don't.
You were healthy because you ate at home. You had food at home.
Oh, yes, it wasn't that. I mean, that wasn't the problem.
They just felt you were weak.
Well, weak and small. And like I say, they put me in this, and they called it an open-air school. And it was just a section of a regular school. When I left there, my folks moved over a few blocks to put us in a different school district. I had to go to a different school. And I was so far behind because I wasn't being educated all this time, but they kept promoting me in grade. I just had a heck of a time catching up with anybody.
What year are we talking about approximately here?
About 1940 to 44, somewhere in there. In 1945, I think we moved to a different address. I had difficulty catching up with the other students because of this lack of training or education to start out with. I didn't get along well in school for a long time. And
Okay, let's talk about elementary. 4th, 5th, and 6th. Were you lagging behind then?
Well, up to about the 7th grade. I was lagging all through my education at that point. I just never did catch up with the rest of the people. We had one class, Mrs. Grace.
High school.
In high school, Miss Grace and Miss McFarland. I'll never forget, my older brother went to the same school that I did. I was sitting there in one class, and they were calling roll by the seat. The teacher called out my name. It was the first day of school, and she called Robert Borlase. Do you have a brother named Edward? And I said, yes, ma'am. If you're like Edward, I'm going to fail you.
Oh.
And that's first day of school. Then I went down to another class, and I had a similar problem. So a couple of days later, maybe, I went to school, and I had forgotten a pencil or I forgot something. And she says, I see you're just like your brother. I'm going to fail you.
What was your brother like, Ed?
To me, he was my idol. I mean, this guy was the one that drove me into the Navy. He joined the Navy. In the Second World War, he went in the Navy and all that. And he was always somebody I really looked up to. So I quit school.
In what year? What grade?
That was the 11th grade. When I could, I joined the Navy.
So you never went back to school?
Oh, yes, I did. I did go back. I took my GED in the military, and I got my high school diploma in the military. But when I got out, I wanted to go further on with school. When I got out of the Navy, I went back to Knight High School and took classes in math and in English and literature and stuff like that so I could go to college.
In 1941, December 7th.
Yes.
You were 9 years old. Do you remember that day?
Yes, I do. I can remember hearing President Roosevelt give "This day will live in infamy" or some speech. We had a big old radio, and we lived over there on Lenox. And I can remember hearing that. It was scary to me. It was scary. I do remember it, yes.
Anybody in your family affected by it?
My older brother, as soon as he could, he joined the Navy.
As a result of...
Yes, as a result of that.
Right. Diane, your background a little bit, where you grew up.
I grew up in Detroit, Michigan. I was born in Capac, Michigan, which is a very small town up in the Thumb area. My folks actually lived in Detroit. My mother went up there because her sister was up there. I went to school in Canada for a couple years at St. Mary's, a private school, because my mother and father both worked, and I was an only child. So I went there for a couple years. Then came back to Detroit and went through public school most of the time in Detroit.
Bob, when you dropped out of high school in the junior year, 11th grade,
Yeah.
You would have been 16?
17.
Then you went to work?
I found a job on the way home from school. When I quit school, I stopped at a gas station that was up on the corner of the block, and I got a job pumping gas and greasing cars. And
Because you had experience from your father's service station.
Well, no, I pumped gas for a long time. I learned how to do some of that there. I worked in a gas station before my dad did, really. I just worked there. Colts Standard Service was the name of it. Colts, C-O-L-T-S.
Do you remember what your parents said when you said you had quit school?
They weren't very happy about it, but Dad accepted it. He hadn't had much of an education either.
And your mother had high school?
I believe so. I believe she did, yes. My older sister did, and of course my older brother, I don't think he did. He may have finished, I don't know, later on, but he had his troubles.
You worked at that gas station then for a long period of time?
I don't think it was, maybe a couple of years. Probably until I went into the service.
When did you go into the Navy?
I went in 1951.
How old were you then?
19.
Why did you go into the Navy?
My brother was a radioman in the Navy during the Second World War. And I went in the Navy because I was going to be drafted into the Army, and I wanted to follow my brother, and I said, I'll join the Navy rather than go in the Army. Mm-hmm. So I joined the Navy in 1951. I believe it was in December. At that time, you were obligated for 8 years. I did 4 years active, and the other 4 years were inactive reserve, is what they called it. You were subject to call. And before that expired, I joined the Coast Guard.
When you were young, what did you think life would be like when you got older? Did you have any hopes, dreams then?
No, I can't think of, I don't know, it was just day to day when I was growing up.
What did you enjoy doing, playing, fun?
I played baseball. I liked baseball. I did a lot of bowling. I had a pretty good bowling average, and that's something I did with my father. It was one of the few things, other than work with my father, it was one of the few things I did with him. I bowled on a bowling team with him. Growing up, I worked in a bowling alley. I set pins. That's back before they had the automatic racks. Mm-hmm. You'd sit back there in a pit. The ball would knock the pins down, and you jump up and you send the ball back and put the pins into a rack. And then with a second ball, you sent the ball back, and you lowered the rack, and it would set the pins. I got so I could do 2 alleys back and forth, and you got paid like 10 cents a line. The manager would keep track of how many lines the people bowled on those alleys that you were setting. You'd get paid according to that.
If you were managing 2 alleys, that was...
You made twice as much money,
Yeah. Was that when you were 16, 17 in there?
Somewhere in there, probably. Yeah. Maybe even started a little bit younger than that.
Was it Korea that drove you into the military?
Yes, it was. I joined the Navy just to follow my brother's path when he was in the Navy in the Second World War, rather than to be drafted into the Army.
How old are you then when you joined?
I believe I was 19.
You haven't met Diane yet?
Yes, I did.
We met in 1949.
Yes.
We lived in the same neighborhood. I met him at a friend's, somebody that both of us knew. I went over there, and Bob was there, and that's when I met him.
Yeah.
At somebody's house?
At somebody's house, uh-huh.
Yeah.
What's the age difference here?
2.5 years. He's 2.5 years older than me. I was 14.
And you were
17.
So you've known each other since you were 14 years old?
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
It's interesting, at that age, did you date? Did you go out?
Oh.
No, we couldn't afford to go out. I used to go over to their neighborhood, and we'd meet over in front of a drugstore usually and go walking.
He'd have a cup of coffee, which was a dime at that time.
Yeah, or something.
And I didn't drink coffee, so I'd have a glass of water, because I didn't drink soft drinks either.
And this again about the year?
1949.
And this was in Detroit?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Were you close to downtown Detroit?
No.
No.
Did you ever go downtown Detroit?
Oh, yeah. You'd take the streetcar down.
Were there stores, big department stores?
Oh, big department
like
stores.
what?
J.L. Hudson Company,
Yes.
which was a big department store.
Crowds.
Especially at Christmas. They had these windows where they would put animated people or things in the windows, and they were known at that time all over. When the movie theaters were downtown, though we didn't go to the movie there, and the ballpark was down there, when you could get in for, what, $1.50 or $2, Bob?
Mm-hmm.
And you're talking about the Detroit Tigers?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Did you go to those games when you could?
We did.
Yeah.
But when we were dating before he went in the service, we didn't have money won.
No.
Were you anti-Yankees then, the New York Yankees?
I don't think so.
I don't think I
because,
was anti-anything, really.
you know, there was no television. The games were on radio if you happened to listen to them. We got to go to the games so seldom. It just wasn't the same as what it is now.
No. Do you remember the name of the play-by-play announcer on the radio?
My mother worked for a man by the name of Van Patrick, who did that for Detroit. And he did it for the Lions as well. My mother worked for the radio station there that he worked for the newspaper.
Well, he was a famous name for a long time there, wasn't he?
Uh-huh.
And the Lions was a football team for Detroit. Yeah.
And the newspaper was the Detroit Free Press.
News
was the big one, and then the Free Press. And the Times at one time, but it didn't last too long.
I delivered the Detroit News for a while.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I had a route.
You were a worker, weren't you? I mean, you felt you needed to be working.
Yeah.
I mean, you had many jobs.
It didn't seem to me like it was a lot.
It was just the thing to do.
Yeah.
Do you remember movie stars that you saw in the theaters?
Oh, yeah.
Alan Ladd?
Yeah. But we could not go see Gone with the Wind.
Yes.
Why is that?
Because at the end they said, damn.
What,
you couldn't
frankly,
go
my
see
dear,
it.
Don't give a damn. Yeah, we
you couldn't go till you were 18.
Yep. At that time.
So this wasn't a parental thing.
No, it was
the movie.
Movies, yep.
It was rated.
Ratings, yeah.
Yeah, isn't that something?
But, Clark Gable and Cary Grant and all of them were movie stars, and Barbara Stanwyck. A lot of musicals at that time. A lot of horror movies, too. Not like what they are now, but Frankenstein and the Wolfman and things like that. You could go on a Sunday afternoon for 50 cents and see 3 movies.
Was that part of your dating?
Yeah, well, we went at night. There was that one down by us, Bob. What was the name of that one theater where you could get in for something like a quarter?
Lakewood?
Lakewood, yeah. You'd get in for a quarter. You could go any time. Now you have to go when the movie starts, but there you could go any time. And if you came in the middle, you just stayed until the point where you came in.
The Cinderella was the main movie theater around there.
A little bit more expensive.
It was more expensive, so we didn't go there very often.
And the Times. Wasn't there a Times theater,
too? Yes, Times theater.
Racial issues, blacks and whites back then. Were you around blacks?
Detroit had some riots during a period of time, but I worked in a black neighborhood for a long time. Where I delivered papers was partially a black neighborhood. Later on, before I went back into the military, I worked at my dad's gas station, which was a black neighborhood, and we had no problems. In fact, whole days, the lady across the street from the gas station would come in and stand in by our heater, waiting for the bus. The bus stop was right out front of the gas station.
Our high school was half white, half black.
Sure. And I think that prepared me a lot for military life.
And for life as a whole.
Yes. And I worked here at the sheriff's office the same way.
When you enlisted in the Navy, what was your first port of call? Where did you go?
I went to Great Lakes.
Illinois.
Yes, in Illinois. It's near Chicago, in between Chicago and Milwaukee in there, the area in there. I went to boot camp there.
And the Korean War is on right now?
Yes, it was on.
Is that where you were destined to go?
Yes.
How did you go? Were you on board ship and stayed there? Or?
Yes. What I did is I went down to what's called recruit training. And I went through recruit training, and after I left recruit training, my brother was a radioman in the Second World War. So I joined the Navy, and I had to be a radioman. I was sent to radio school where I learned international Morse code and all the procedures, transmitting messages and receiving messages. Then I was sent to the USS Walton. It was a destroyer escort. That's the ship I served on and went to Korea.
All right. How close to Korea were you?
We went to Korea. We were there, went by. We patrolled up and down Korea and did whatever they wanted us to do over in Korea. When I got off the ship and flew home, that was 1953, and that's the year we got married.
You had communication.
I was a radio operator.
Yes.
Our messages were sent broadcast, but it was in international Morse code. We didn't use voice. The only people using voice were the people up on the bridge. They had VHF frequencies or stuff like that, but the radioman sat in a radio room.
Was there sensitive information that you were handling?
Yes, and it was reporting, or they were getting information on what to do.
Do you remember any of it at all?
No, because we copied the message on. It was given to an officer to break the message, to take it and de-encrypt it.
Okay, so you didn't know what it was saying?
No, not at that time.
You were taking it down and handing it over.
That's right. That's all we did. It was broadcast. Everything going to ships in a certain area. There could be 50 ships out there, and it was all broadcast. You just copied, and you picked the ones out that were yours, and you gave them to the communications officer.
Meanwhile, this war is going on land.
Yeah, and you're off the coast.
Could you see any?
Well, the problem we had during that time there was only 5 radiomen on the ship, because the Second World War, when it had ended, all the people went out of the service. When the Korean War started, they really didn't have enough people to do things. So we stood watches where it was 4 hours on and 4 hours off, just continuously. You never got enough sleep. You never got enough anything.
So when you were 4 hours on?
You were copying code.
Okay.
And what you did is you copied the headings, who the message was going to in your log. And if you weren't one of them, you didn't copy the text. You just let it go. You take a little break. And it was to you, you copied the whole message, and you logged every message that came over.
I guess you guys were terribly curious as to what this message was and who it was from and who it was going to.
We knew who it was from. Could be from anybody, but we would know that.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever intercept the enemy's communication at all?
No, I don't believe we did. Now, later on, when I was in the Coast Guard, we copied all sorts of messages.
How long, then, was your ship there in Korea?
About 6 months, I imagine. I don't know. I went over in 1952 and came back in 53.
So you were there in Korea 52 to 53?
Yeah. At the end of that time, I got transferred off the ship in 1953. That's when I come home and Diane got married.
Did you get married too?
Yeah, well, we were married. The two of us together, simultaneously. Together. We went on a honeymoon to Washington, D.C. We came back, and after leave, I got sent away to the island of Kwajalein in the Marshall Islands, and it was isolated duty where I could not bring my wife. We got married, went on a honeymoon, and I left for a year.
Probably a week there?
After
your wedding?
Yeah.
And then you were gone to the Marshall Islands
for a year.
For a year.
Yes. When I left there, I got sent to Honolulu at Pearl Harbor. I was sent to Pearl Harbor. Diane came over to Pearl Harbor, and that's where Kim was born.
What did you do there in the Marshall Islands?
Radio, communications. The island itself had a runway on it. It was in the Marshall Islands, and it was the island of Kwajalein, and it was an airstrip. Our radio station was run on the side of the airstrip. Some ships came in, give us supplies or pick things up, and when they're doing some of the atomic bomb testing, some of the planes would fly out of there and to come in. I can remember them hosing the planes down with water on the runway.
The Marshall Islands were heavily involved in World War II, of course.
Yes. I did a year of that. Then we got transferred to Honolulu, Pearl Harbor. Diane was able to come over, and that's where Kim was born.
Your first daughter,
Kim Diane.
Kim Diane.
She's known today as Kim
Diane East, our oldest daughter.
She served in our state.
She was the insurance commissioner.
Right.
We lived in Navy housing.
That was pretty good living there then?
I thought it was.
Yeah.
What we'd been through up to that point, it was wonderful having a family. In fact, Diane's mother came over there for a little while.
Yeah, that was nice because we had an old car because we couldn't afford anything. My mother came over, and she, at that time, worked for the president of Studebaker-Packard Corporation. So we had a brand new Packard to drive the whole time she was there.
Wow.
I had a 1940 Plymouth, I think.
How did she get that car over there?
They had a dealership
Picked it
there.
up from the dealer.
Yeah, and they arranged it.
Oh.
Yeah, they all arranged it and picked
Yeah.
up. And had it.
She was, like I said, worked for the president. She was his private secretary.
Well, that was a pretty big job, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Very big job.
Yep.
You're there for a year.
Yeah,
and
then I got discharged.
And you leave. Is that when you're discharged from the Navy?
Yes.
Your last year with the Navy was in Hawaii.
Yes.
And then discharged.
Well, I got sent back to San Francisco through the processing center. But
Right.
that's where I got my discharge
Right.
papers. I didn't get a discharge. I got released in active duty. In other words, that time you were obligated for 8 years. I did 4 years active, and I was still obligated to the Navy for 4 years. They could call me at any time back, but they did not.
Do you remember in the 50s the fear of communism and the talk about that?
Oh, yeah. I had no fear of it myself, but there was a lot of talk about communism.
Did you remember hearing presidents on the radio, like FDR and Truman and Eisenhower?
Sure.
You know, television was coming out then, too. You know, they would have some of it on television.
Did you have TV when you were in Hawaii?
Yes, we did. My mother sent one over to
Yeah,
us. Do you remember that, Bob?
Yeah.
As a Christmas present, my mother sent us a
that was the
television.
first one,
It's a
yeah.
small.
How excited you must have been.
We were, yeah.
Was it black and white?
Oh, yes,
yeah,
black
yeah.
and white.
Black and white.
Uh-huh.
This would have been in the early 50s.
Yeah, it'd be 54.
That's probably to this day one of your best Christmas presents.
Yeah.
She treated us very well.
Was she of some wealth, some
No,
money?
it's just, like I said, she worked for the president of
So she must
Studebaker-Packard,
have
so
earned
she
a
made
nice
good
income.
Yeah, a good
Right.
income.
Yeah.
So you're out of the Navy, then where do you go to live?
We went back to Detroit. We lived with your mother for a while.
My mother on the east side. Then we bought a house in
a
Mount
house
Clemens.
out in Mount Clemens, Michigan. It's Clinton Township, wasn't it?
Is that close to Detroit?
It's a suburb, like from Oklahoma City maybe to El Reno.
So
from
you
downtown.
lived there. What did you do for income?
I went to work with my dad at the gas station.
And I worked at Curtis
And
Wright.
she worked at Curtis Wright.
What was that?
They made engines, big, large, huge engines.
For cars?
No,
Industrial?
for industrial, yeah. They worked for Daimler-Benz.
You had one child that you brought from Hawaii with you, so Kim was with you. Was another one to be born?
Out there. Leslie.
Leslie was born there. And then
Tracy was born there.
Then Tracy.
Debbie was not.
No, Debbie was born out in California. Right after we had Tracy is when he went back in the Coast Guard.
I went back in the Coast Guard.
All right. You were living as a civilian and working in the gas station. And what brought you to the Coast Guard?
Just the routine of every day driving so far to work and working in the gas station and trying to get a college education at night. I was just about wore out. I was just tired. I went to Detroit Institute of Technology for about 2 years. I was working 6 days a week, 10 hours a day. I was going to school in downtown Detroit almost, and we were living out in Mount Clemens at the time. So I was getting up at about 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and I would drive to work. I'd work all day, then I couldn't go home for supper. I had to go to my mother's house. I went over there and ate. Then I'd clean up because I was working in a gas station. I was greasy, dirty. And then I would drive downtown further away from home to go to school. I did this for a year and a half. One day I was just driving home, and I was tired and wore out, and they had an ad come on the radio. It said something like, ex-servicemen, the Coast Guard could use you. I heard that a couple of nights. You know, we had 3 kids then. Tracy was just a baby. I would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'd change her diaper, give her a bottle, and put her back to bed, and then I'd go to work, and then Diane was working at the time. Oh, it was just hectic. So we both finally decided it was time maybe to do something. So I went to the Coast Guard recruiter, and I asked him, would they take me? He said, sure, we'll take you. At my previous rating and all that, that was 1959.
So you were okay with that then, Diane?
Yes.
What was the Coast Guard going to do for you?
It was going to give me a job. I was going to be a radioman, what I was trained to do in the Navy. And the Coast Guard did a lot of search and rescue work. And we also manned things. I don't know if you ever heard of one. It's called an ocean station. It's a place out in the middle, halfway between Honolulu and the coast. The ship sat on this grid, keying a beacon. Airplanes flying over would key on our beacon. And they had these stations all along the Atlantic and also in the Pacific, run by the Coast Guard. The ship would go out there and spend 21 days on station.
How many men would be on that ship?
Less than 100.
Considered a small ship then?
Well, 255 foot was the ship I was on, but they also had a 327-footer. But they do is they talk to the stewardesses sometimes that even wake us up, call Reveille. They'd talk to us.
Oh, the stewardess?
Yeah, they'd come on and go over the PA system for us.
They could speak to your ship?
Oh, yeah. Up in the CIC, they'd actually be talking to them, yeah.
So the stewardess would tell you it's time to get
out?
out?
Yeah, they'd record something up there and they'd play it to the rest of the crew.
Oh, yeah.
But not very often. It's just something that could happen.
Your job as a radio man then was to...
We kept the shore communications going, all the administrative communications back to the States, or could be Washington or anybody. And we did it by continuous wave CW for a period of time. And then they got the radio teletype going, and we used that.
At this point, in 59, is that when it is you're talking about?
59, 60,
yeah.
61.
There's no war going on at this point.
No. But this was manned all the time by the Coast Guard. Had one in between Honolulu and the mainland, and they had one over, that was Ocean Station November, they called it. And then Ocean Station Victor was in between Honolulu and Japan. And these were manned by Coast Guard ships. And on the East Coast, they had 3 or 4 different sites. They kept that beacon going and talking to the planes going over and giving them radar fixes. On the Coast Guard cutter that I was on, I think it was the Wachusett or one of them. I wasn't on it when it happened, but they had one of those commercial planes ditch right next to it. And they took the people off it, and everybody was taken off of it.
And saved on the ship. In the meantime, Bob is gone, Diane, for a long period of time.
He would only be gone for a month at a time.
Okay, well, I'm considering that a long period of time, and you're home raising babies.
Mm-hmm.
So you had 3 children to take care of while he was gone for a month?
Yes.
But then you come home. Would you stay home for a while?
Usually 2 or 3 months. It depended on the rotation. Several different cutters would pull the same duty.
So was that an easy life, Diane?
I didn't mind it. I didn't.
The children were a year or two between each other.
Yeah, a year and a half about.
They would have been what ages about that time? Kim would have been the oldest?
Yeah, about 4 or 5.
And then the next one was?
Leslie, she was probably about 3.5.
And then you had
Tracy was almost a year.
Wow. That's a handful.
It was.
Yeah.
Did you have any help?
Me. I was my help. And Bob when he was home.
So the pay was pretty good in the Coast Guard?
It's not something you get rich on, but it was dependable.
You got your housing and all your medical, and you could shop at the commissary, so...
Yeah. It had its benefits, but you would never get rich on it.
No. How long were you in the Coast Guard?
20 years, I believe.
20 years?
Yeah.
Did you travel a lot?
Oh, yeah. We were transferred here. Is how we got here.
We went from California to Newfoundland, Canada. From Newfoundland, we came back to Seattle. And from Seattle back to California. Then California to Boston, and Boston to here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Then you had a fourth child.
Debbie, she was born out in California.
So you had children from age...
They'd be like 2, 4, 6, and 8, the 4 of them. I mean, odd years they were even ages, and even years they were odd ages. And then 12 years later, we had Andrea. She was born in Boston.
Well, everybody took to that kind of living and moving, and you didn't think anything of it, did you?
No.
I'm the reason why we stayed here. I'll have to confess.
And why is that?
I wanted one of my daughters to start and finish school in the same district.
And that had never
happened.
happened.
That was Andrea, and that had never happened.
So your daughters were always the new kid in school?
Yeah.
What kind of effect did it have on the girls that they were always moving, always new?
They adjusted well, I thought.
Quite often when we lived in certain places, it was military housing. So even though they may have been new to the school, there were a lot of kids with them that were also new to the school.
They had
It wasn't like we moved where they would be the only ones. Yeah. So that...
Part of the culture wasn't it, of that?
Yeah.
Sometimes when you traveled, didn't you travel by car? You didn't like to fly.
Well, we traveled by car mainly because we had a car. All our belongings would be picked up at the house, and they'd take it, and we'd drive off.
How did you get these 4 girls in the back seat of your car?
A VW bus was the last vehicle we had.
Yeah, from Newfoundland. We put the VW bus on a ship, and it took us to Nova Scotia, and then we drove. And Bob reminded of this. We stopped one place in Montreal for lunch, and when we walked into this restaurant, everybody stopped talking. I mean, just went dead, and I thought, what have we done wrong? And a man got up, went out, and looked at our car, and he says, it's okay, they're from Newfoundland. And everybody started talking again. Well, that was when that part of Canada wanted to secede from Canada and go with France. Apparently, as long as we weren't from Ontario or someplace like that, it was all right.
Wow.
But it was a strange feeling.
Yeah, it was. And I wonder what they would have done if you...
I don't know. We probably wouldn't have gotten served.
When we were leaving Canada from Newfoundland, we were authorized to bring some liquor back with us from the base. So we had like 4 or 5 bottles of unopened whiskey. And when we got to the customs, the Canadian said, you're fine. We told them we had it, and they said, no problem. But he says, watch out for the other side. So we got on the American side, and the guy says, well, you can't take that here.
It was sealed and everything. We even had immigration put the seals on them.
Yeah.
He told Bob to bring the bottles in there, and Bob said, I'll break every one of them. Well, then take your darn bottles and get out of here.
We had a big fuss up.
As we were driving from there, this man honked at Bob and honked at Bob. And Bob opened the window and he says, do you know what country you're in? So we had a lot of fun with the travel.
Yeah. VW bus with Newfoundland tags on it.
Did you ever stop on the side of the road to have your lunch?
Oh, we've done a lot of that.
Did you make breakfast along the side of the road?
We had that little
Coleman
stove.
Yeah.
And you just stop on the side of the road?
Yeah, the kids didn't mind. They thought it was great. It was an adventure. Because whenever we moved, we just said, okay, pack up, we're moving now. We didn't make a big thing out of it. And they just got so used to it that they did real well.
Well, both of you then were doing real well, too, because that was the lifestyle. If you're in the Coast Guard, that's the way it had to be.
Mm-hmm.
Move on.
Got to keep moving. Yeah, most of your tours of duty were only like 3 years or maximum 4.
And then you'd move.
You could plan on it.
You were stationary for 2-3 years at least.
Oh, yeah.
Just until everybody got real settled. And then Bob would come home and say, well, we're leaving now.
Yeah.
We didn't mind. The only thing is, I told Bob, on Veterans Day, homage to the veterans is fine, but also to families of career military.
Absolutely.
It's a lot different career than it is just when they go for 3 or 4 years. It's a different life.
Right.
The hardest part, I think, was going someplace and not having somebody there. If your children got sick or you got sick, that you could call on. You know, you didn't have a parent or a brother or a sister or a close friend to cry with or moan with or whatever, you know.
And probably by the time you had a close friend, it was time to move again.
That's right.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
Right.
When I send Christmas cards, they go all over.
Yeah. Did you, Diane, get tired of this type of living?
Not really. No, I didn't mind. I like traveling, which we've done a lot of since he's gotten out of the...
Since we've been here, yeah. We've been to Alaska 3 times and Europe twice.
So that spirit of adventure you both have, and you passed it on, I think, to Kim, your daughter, for sure.
The other ones, not so much. Our daughter out in California, yes, and Tracy, but the 2 younger ones, no.
In your tour of duty, Vietnam was part of it.
Yes, I went to Vietnam.
Tell us about that experience, Vietnam.
Well, we went up and down the coast. We were assigned certain areas in Vietnam, and we worked mainly with the Army. We were close into shore. They would call upon us every once in a while. We were to keep any Viet Cong from going around out from sea and going behind the troops, because they could go around and get behind them. They would call upon us to fire a few rounds at certain targets. We were close to shore, and we would fire whatever they wanted. That was about it. We'd be out there for about 3 weeks or so, and then we'd go to Japan or someplace, and then we'd go back over there, and we'd rotate it around. We'd get a different assignment, but it was different.
You must have you had to enjoy living on a ship.
I was a chief, so we had different quarters.
Chief, what does that mean, chief?
Well, I was a radioman chief. I was in charge of the radio.
Okay.
And communications. Now, I had a communications officer that was over me.
But you had special quarters in?
For chiefs, yeah. You know, it wasn't elaborate, but we ate separately. And we had a regular, kitchen table, and it was 14 chiefs.
This is in the 60s, then, that you're there. Diane, where are you living, then?
Seattle. Well, Redmond, Washington.
Yeah.
Were you then caught up in the conversation about Vietnam and whether the United States should have been there or not? Was that an issue with your people?
No.
Not at all?
No, I just went where I was told to go and did what I was told to do.
So the discussion was never on ship, whether we should be here or not. But the United States conversation drove Lyndon Johnson out of office, so you weren't...
I ran into some things that made me quite upset with the population of this country, yes.
Like what?
Well, I had a VW bus, and I was going out in California. And those folks out there use that thing like a chalkboard. They would write obscenities and things on it because I had a military sticker on my car. And I had to have a sticker to get on the base. They'd write on the side of my VW bus. A lot of places they didn't want you to wear your uniform because that would attract attention.
So the very fact that you had a military sticker on your VW bus, they in essence attacked the bus by graffiti and writing on it.
Yeah. Yeah, they used it like a chalkboard. You got a nice big long side. They weren't too kind words either, a lot of times.
Did you even fear for yourself?
I did not, but I could see why people would.
Yeah. We've heard stories about soldiers coming home from Vietnam. They'd come to the airport and they'd change into their civilian clothes.
Sure.
So the populace wouldn't identify them.
Yeah, I think there was a time I had a worse.
Well, when you came home from Vietnam, he flew home early.
Yeah.
He left the ship and flew home.
That's right, and I flew into San Francisco.
And they didn't have uniforms on.
Yeah, I flew into San Francisco and was at Treasure Island. We put civilian clothes on then.
So everybody was told to do that. Yeah.
If I remember right, too, Bob, they used to, when the ships would come in from the war, they would have big bands and all. They didn't. They kept it very quiet. Right after he got home from Vietnam, we left right after that Seattle and were stationed down San Diego.
Well, yeah,
we lived in Cardiff.
We lived in Cardiff, and I drove into San Diego every day.
Okay, so you hadn't left the Coast Guard yet. Your next thing was to go to San Diego.
But schooling.
What was that schooling about?
Advanced radio school, just advanced training.
Are we coming up then to the end of the war?
I believe it was still going on.
It's still going.
So you couldn't wear your military uniform?
Didn't wear it.
They didn't recommend it, but we still had stickers on our car to get on the base.
How did this make you feel then? Here you were, service...
Not very well.
Right.
Now, I know I harbored bad thoughts.
Because?
Well, I think I'm serving my country, and my country's treating me like mud,
Right.
It wasn't very pleasant.
Right.
And from there, I went through advanced training there, and then we got sent to Boston.
No, we went back up in Los Angeles.
Los Angeles for a while.
Long Beach, because you worked at the district office.
District office for a while. From there, we got sent to Boston.
Yep.
What did you do in Boston?
I ran the communications center there at the district office.
We're getting in the 70s now.
Yes.
So you leave Boston, and then your orders are come to Oklahoma City.
That's correct.
And then you work where?
I worked at the Coast Guard Training Center in Oklahoma City. It's located at the FAA Center. The Coast Guard at that point writes promotion exams and training manuals for Coast Guard personnel. I was assigned to write exams and keep the manuals up to date for the radiomen of the Coast Guard.
Okay. You talked about college. Did you finish college work?
No, I did
All right.
not.
But you did some.
I did some.
All right.
2 years.
I bring that up because you're writing exams and you're doing all sorts of things here. So your training paid off for you and gave you higher pay and a higher position.
No matter where I was, the pay would be the same. It was paid by your grade.
Okay,
So
right.
if you were a sergeant in doing something, you got paid a certain amount, and if you went someplace else to do it, you still got paid.
All right, so what was your grade then when you were here?
I was at E9. That was the maximum.
All right, well, that's a pretty high-paying rank then for the military.
Yes, I was what they call Master Chief. That's as high as I could go as an enlisted man.
That's higher pay.
Yes, it was.
Were you ever offered officer training school?
I was, and I didn't want to go. And when we were stationed in Long Beach, I took an exam for a warrant officer. And when it came in, I turned it down.
Why?
I don't know. I just thought they were going to send me to New York at the time, and I didn't want my kids to go there because of the schooling. So I turned it down. Right after I turned it down, I got sent to Boston.
Same difference, right?
No, New York, it was different. They were stationed on an island, and the kids would have had to take a boat into school and that, and
Yeah.
it just...
Oh,
yeah,
It was
so
right
the conditions
in the city.
were better in Boston.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's the only reason why. Otherwise, it'd been just Diane and I.
You'd have gone...
Oh, I'd have taken more.
You would have become a warrant officer.
Warrant officer, as commissioned officer.
Yes. All right, kids listening to this is what your father did. He turned down a nice promotion.
It was worth it, girls.
By the way, did you watch the Ken Burns series on PBS about Vietnam?
Mm-hmm.
You did? What did you think about it?
Some things I thought were excellent. Other things I thought was a bit biased.
Against
the United States.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy watching that, reliving all that?
No, I didn't.
Even though you weren't in battle, you still were close to it.
We did some shooting and stuff, but we weren't shot at that I know of.
Right.
And I was kept in an air-conditioned room in my radio room just about all the time we were there. When they did the firing, you all had stations where you went, and that's where you were to be. My station was in the radio room. So whenever they were out shooting or doing something like that, I was locked behind a door in the radio room.
And that's something as close as you were to the cruelty of what went on in Vietnam, you were that close to it.
Yeah.
But still not in it.
I didn't see it. We did a lot of shooting up and down the coast. I went ashore and several places when we first got over there because every new area we went into, the captain took me as a communications person over with him to check on the communications. We set something up with the shore people. So after maybe 3 or 4 times of doing that, then he realized I really didn't need to go, and I didn't go any longer.
Mm-hmm.
But I did go ashore quite a bit.
So now we've got you back here to Oklahoma City. And how long do you stay in the Coast Guard?
4 years.
What year do we get here?
We came here in 75, honey.
Yeah, okay. And I retired in 79.
Of all the places you guys have lived, what would be your preferred?
I loved it up in Boston.
Bob?
I didn't like driving in Boston, but Boston was a nice...
And what was so pleasant about that?
Well, like I said, I liked history. There was so much there to see and do. And I liked the Four Seasons, and, you know, I really enjoyed it up there. We would go up to Maine and New Hampshire and all through that area, and I liked New England, but we had to leave because of the school problem. They decided to segregate the schools. Where our children went to school, it was a mixture of black and white, but they brought in more blacks that did not want to leave their neighborhood into that school. The school they went to was old. They locked down the classes. If it had ever had a fire, we'd have lost all our children. Our youngest daughter, Debbie, had to ride a bus sitting on the floor going to an all-black school. Where the Kennedys lived, they did not do that. But where we lived and the Jewish people lived is where they made them mix.
So this was forced busing.
It definitely
forced integration is what you're talking about. That became a problem for your own children.
Yes, it definitely did. I could not go anyplace because I couldn't be away from the phone in case they called that I had to come pick them up because of riots or something going on in the schools.
Oh, so there were fights going on in the school, even to maybe shut the school down for a time.
Yes, and they closed off all the Catholic schools. You could not put your kid into a parochial school at all.
Because
they wanted you to stay in those certain districts where they had integrated.
So Catholic schools didn't have any
Well, the ones
students?
that were there could stay, but no new students.
You couldn't
at all.
transfer out.
No.
Your children would then be about what grades?
They were in high school at that time. 2 of them were.
So that would have been Kim and Leslie.
No, Kim wasn't with us then. Leslie and Tracy. Kim stayed out in California with my mother.
Okay. Well, that was a real unsettling time then,
yes,
wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And it was very political. Very political. In the fact that, like I said, where the Kennedys lived, they didn't integrate at all. And certain areas of Boston, they did not integrate. They took South Boston, which was Irish, where we were, and integrated. But they didn't do the whole city. It was very political, wasn't it, Bob?
Yep, it was.
Huh. And even though the Kennedys, were they going to public school or were they probably in Catholic school?
Catholic school.
But even so, that district where they lived, even those who went to public school were not integrated.
Yep.
How long did you live there like that?
3 years. We lived in Boston 3 years.
And that had to be a trying time, those 3 years of being in school.
Well, the first year or so, it was fine, and then that's when they decided they had to integrate. What made it so bad, we met up with quite a few black families, and they had their own schools, which they were very proud of, and were not happy at all about having to move their children either. So it wasn't black against white or white against black. It was just against the whole mess that they had there.
Well, here in Oklahoma, we had forced busing as well. That didn't go well either, but it doesn't sound like we had riots or big fights, but you did there in the Boston area.
I went to a meeting when they first decided. I thought, what's going to happen? And people stood up and said, if nothing else, we'll shoot them, we'll get rid of them. And I walked out. I thought, no, this is not what I want either, So
shooting blacks, you mean?
Shooting, blacks or politicians or anybody else. They did not want to integrate at all, They didn't want to leave their schools.
Did we have federal troops come out? We didn't, did we, there in Boston?
No.
But it took care of itself, I guess, eventually, obviously.
Police, not federal troops.
Police, right. Mm-hmm. That's Boston. So I'm back here in Oklahoma, and you leave the Coast Guard, retired in 1979.
Yes.
That's over 20 years.
Yes.
Did you have how many?
1951 to 1979.
That's 28 years.
Mm-hmm.
So after 28 years in the Coast Guard, you retire.
Yes.
Then what are you going to do?
I went to work at the sheriff's office.
Why the sheriff's office?
Well, the next door neighbor here, Larry Watson, he worked at the sheriff's office. I did nothing for about a year. I just kicking cans, and I didn't know, I was going crazy. He said, well, why don't you come on down to the sheriff's office and talk to him? So I went down there, and of course I'd been in communications, so they put me in dispatch. They hired me on the spot. I worked there for quite a while, and then they said, why don't you come on over here to the Records Bureau, and you can be a supervisor of communications. In records, I would go up and fingerprint and photograph people being booked into the jail and take down personal records of them. And after a while, they sent me to a crime scene investigation school. Then I went out on crime scenes and still worked in the Records Bureau because it was run out of there. I would develop the film and do the prints. And then they said, well, why don't we send you over to the academy? So I went over to the police academy. And I graduated from that, and they put me out in the street in civil division. I was out serving process and kicking people out of houses and taking their cars and children.
You met up with some characters, didn't you?
Yeah, so I did that, and I retired from there. On my 65th birthday, I retired. I said, that's enough.
How many years were you with the sheriff?
1980 to 1997. It was 17 or 18 years.
Wow. You had given us this picture of this very thin boy and very shy boy. Yeah. Who would ever think that he was going to be the guy who works for the sheriff's department, knocks on a door, and gives them, subpoenas and all that kind of stuff?
Well, I served civil orders in the court to show up for court.
Right.
I picked up their cars if I had an order to pick up. I picked up their children if I had an order to pick them up.
And met with not very pleasant people.
That's right.
Did you carry a weapon?
Oh, of course. I still have the permit to carry. I haven't.
Yeah. It just seems so unlikely for you to be in that kind of position.
He did well because he treats everybody with respect.
Well, you're not a threatening personality.
And I even worked with the SWAT team.
You worked in the SWAT team?
I worked with them, yes.
I thought SWAT team guys were 6'10", and they had muscles out to here.
No, well, it started out, I got into shooting a lot, and I got into reloading. I'm a member of the Oklahoma City Gun Club. There for a period of time, I'd take the snipers over and would shoot out at the range every once in a while. I just got in with the group. I reloaded for them and stuff like that when I shoot.
You sure can't look at somebody and figure out, I know what you do. I suppose you have a big gun collection today.
Yes, I do.
You've been collecting for 20 years.
She wants me to. I got to get rid of them.
She wants you to get rid of them.
Yeah,
right.
You're absolutely right.
And probably some of them are quite old, so they're worth something.
Well, yeah, I have a 6-gun I bought in the 50s somewhere. My brother and I started shooting back when I got out of the Navy. Was that 55 I got out of the Navy? We each put $5 down on a Colt single-action Army pistol. That's how much money I had to spare. We paid it off and then got the gun, and we used to shoot. I still have that pistol.
Oh, my. That's an heirloom now.
Yeah.
Well, you sure went to high rankings wherever you were serving. The Oklahoma City bombing, April 19th, 1995. Where were you?
I was downtown at the office when that went off.
At the sheriff's office?
At the sheriff's office. It was just up the street from us at that time.
The Murrah building.
Yeah. When it went off, I was at my desk, and the whole place went boom, boom. We got up and could see the smoke and stuff, and we walked up there, my partner and I. When we got there, it was just a real crumbled mess.
So you felt the explosion?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Your first thoughts were you didn't know?
Oh, I didn't know what it could be.
If you were just a block away.
Well, it was a few blocks. It was up the street. I walked up to it. Didn't need to drive.
So what are your thoughts then when you walk up to it?
Well, I didn't know what could have caused that. It was all rubble. You couldn't go into it. You know, just a big mass of stone and rock. Was
the sheriff's office then called into duty? Were you called into duty?
Well, I was already on duty at the time.
Okay, what did you do as being on duty?
There wasn't anything I could do as far as that was. They shoot everybody off because it was a dangerous situation.
So who took over? The police department?
Yes, they did.
They were in charge?
Well, at that point.
At that point,
I'm sure the ATF came in and everybody else, the state and the feds and everybody probably came in.
But the sheriff's department in the ensuing days had to have some role to play, didn't you?
Well, they were looking for the people who did it.
Yes.
But that's all that I know of.
Other than that, the sheriff's role wasn't big.
I'm not too sure what the sheriff's, there's different departments of the sheriff's. I was in the civil division. They have a criminal division and an investigative division.
Yeah. You were one of the first on the scene. They hadn't cordoned it off yet.
No, well, they were doing it while we were there.
Yeah.
And they didn't want anybody close to it.
Did you see anything?
No.
168 people were dead in that?
No, I didn't see any.
You didn't see any of that?
No. They gave a description of the car that drove off. In the course of our work, we were looking for something like that.
For Timothy McVeigh's car.
Yeah.
And then Timothy McVeigh's car was stopped by a highway patrolman, and we know the rest of the story from there on.
When that exploded, we could feel it, hear it at this house.
Here in Bethany?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I was quite...
And you remember at the same time?
Uh-huh.
At 9:02?
Yeah, because I tried to call him, because I knew it was downtown, and I couldn't get through to him at all. But then he called me to tell me that they were okay.
Retired from there, and I haven't done anything since.
You haven't done anything since?
Traveled.
Oh, travel.
We've done a lot of
You've
traveling.
done a lot of traveling.
We've driven to Alaska 3 times.
Still want to go back.
Don't you have motorcycles?
I have a Honda 750. It's a 4-cylinder.
Notice how his face brightens up when he says that?
Well, it does because I saved the money to buy that. When I got enough money saved out of my allowance to buy it, I bought it.
Yeah.
Since I bought that in 2003, I've been saving for a Harley.
Oh.
Okay? And I finally got enough money to buy a Harley. But I've run out of years, not money.
Oh. And maybe Diane, too, saying...
I've never said a word.
No, she never said a thing.
He's a grown man.
How did the military life affect your personal life? Did military rules apply to your family? Did you call reveille in the morning? Did they have to make their bed a certain way? Did they have a gig line? Tell us about that, huh? Yeah, Diane's looking at you kind of, yeah. What are you going to say to that?
I would say I probably did.
You ran your house like military?
Not so much the house, but we would go to the store, and they'd walk. Him and then the girls right behind him.
Right, like you were walking in file. Did you tell him, walk behind me as you're marching in?
He just, you will behave, you will.
No, I just made sure they straightened out. They behaved.
He wasn't mean or anything like
No.
that, but he was strict with them.
Yeah, I didn't let him give her any guff either.
Right. Did they have to make their beds in military style?
No.
No.
It wasn't that bad. It was just, we ate at certain times.
Yeah.
And when dinner came, everybody had to be at the table at specific times and things like that.
Great.
He was strict with them in certain ways that they had to be polite to people, not rude, and, things like that. Not mean at all.
Since you're a gunman, you're a strong supporter of the Second Amendment, no doubt.
Yes, I am.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Yeah.
The Second Amendment. In the discussion of that today, weapons out there, the AR-15s, where do you come into discussion about all that?
I don't believe they should have a fully automatic weapon, period. There's no need for it. I have an AR-15.
Why?
Well, I have a heavy barrel one. My goal in shooting some of these guns was to try to get all the bullets into one hole at 100 yards. I never got there, but that was my strive. When I was going to the range to shoot, I always try to sight my rifles in so I can hit the bullseye.
Yeah.
So a heavy barrel gun, the barrel's a little bit more stable than on the regular one.
Okay.
That's about all. I just like to shoot, and I like to load. I reload. I don't use factory ammunition. I buy bullets, and I buy the powder, and I've got a bench, and I can reload, and I do it.
All right.
And I'll just always strive to try different powders or try different weights of bullets to see if they were any more accurate. Mm-hmm. When I worked at the sheriff's office, I loaded guns for SWAT teams so they'd go out and shoot and practice. But they always used factory bullets in their work.
They didn't have to use Bob's powder, did they?
No, well, I wouldn't want to be accused of loading something that didn't go off.
That's true. So as you look in your life, what would be the happiest times, do you think, of your lives?
I think when I'm with that young lady over there.
Yes, a happy time.
That's my happiest
It's been
time.
a good 64 years.
64
a wonderful
years.
64 years.
Isn't that great?
And all the time I was gone, it was always on my mind. And we spent a lot of time apart. We don't now.
But the fact that you knew she was taking care of the family and the house.
Yeah.
And I never worried about him. I just knew he'd be all right. Maybe that's where my religion comes in, you know.
And what is your religion?
I'm Catholic.
How did your religion come in through this?
I meant like when he went to Vietnam, I didn't worry about him. The good Lord would take good care of him, and
Right.
he did. Yeah. No matter where he went. That's like when you asked me about his motorcycle. The only thing I said was, wear a helmet. Be sure you wear a helmet, because I knew that he'd be taken care of.
Right. Did you send letters home?
Oh, yes. I'm also a ham radio operator. So when we were out on the station, I called home.
Okay.
We also sent tapes.
So you could do other than writing.
Yeah.
Do you still have the letters?
No,
You know, when you move so much, things go.
Right.
still have my ham radio.
You know, a lot of people may not realize this, how ham radios today are used in time of crisis and natural disasters. Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico, the ham radio operators were called in when all communication was down in Puerto Rico.
Right now, I'm only check in on Sunday mornings to a group. It's called the Quarter Century Wireless Association, and I just check in there. I'm not very active.
But isn't it nice for you to know that a ham radio, to this day, communication in Puerto Rico is still working?
Yep. I talked from the middle of the Pacific to her.
What was your handle? What is it today?
My call sign is WA6LZN.
Okay.
That's a California call. That's where I got it.
All right. Did you put that on a license plate, I suppose?
I have one in there, but it's not on the car.
You think your life has been different from what you might have imagined?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, I never thought we'd leave Michigan, you know, when we were growing up and that, you know. At that time, people did not travel like what they do now.
Right.
Later on, they did, but if they traveled, they would have cabins or something on the lakes. When you see wooden cabins or log cabins, that's what everybody in Michigan has along the lakes there. When we were young, you would go up north or on a lake, one of the big Great Lakes. That was where you went. Maybe you'd go as far as Ohio one time for something or another, but there wasn't the travel then. So this was a different life than what.
So it did turn out much different for both of you. It sure did. Anything that you could say you're most proud of?
That we're still together with all of that after 64 years. Yeah.
You certainly value that, don't you?
Yes.
Yes.
She's my buddy.
We're very good friends.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Not everybody can say that or have it as many years as you have.
Especially with some of the different things,
Right.
you know.
And today you're 85 and
83.
83. So we can expect another 20 years.
Yeah. You can expect what you want. But
Right. How about the young generations that listen to our conversation? Any advice to younger generations that may be listening to this?
Oh, I think sometimes they expect too much out of life. You know, I hear people say, oh, we've made a commitment. One of my pet peeves is this word commitment. And they think it all has to be love and have everything. And to me, that's so wrong. That's why you hear of so many people splitting up and divorcing. They don't want to take the bad with the good. They want everything to be good. And I would advise them to slow down.
Bob?
Enjoy life while you have it. Find a good friend and keep them.
Find a good friend and marry him, right?
That's good, too. Marion is also. She's my best friend.
Right. Do you think the generation after World War II really was the greatest generation?
Well, I don't know, after World War II or after the Great Depression. You know, like Bob's family, most of them were born right after the Depression, or some even in, and they managed to sustain and get ahead. I admire them. And then through the war, where families, we were split up for a year, but some of them went 4 and 5 years and what they went through and came back to and did things on their own. They didn't have to have people feeling sorry for them all the time. Where now, you know, I think that was the greater. Of course, I can't say anything previous to that because I wasn't around.
Right. But you do think it was a...
yeah, I do.
Yeah. Any regrets?
Yeah, we didn't move from Oklahoma.
Diane, here you're an Oklahoman. And life has been good for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, I won't say anything more. I just don't care for the climate.
Right. How would you like to be remembered, Bob?
Just for what I am, just an average American man who served his country and his community, and happy to be here.
And a good father and husband.
How would you like to be remembered, Diane?
The same way, just, you know, that I served my country by being married to him through all those times. And we raised 5 beautiful, wonderful children.
Yeah. And
pay our taxes and obey the law, and just, as Bob says, average Americans, you know.